Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Up All Night with Cobra Commander!
And now for my latest guest here on Up All Night with Cobra Commander, a man who is best known as the Master of Fear, though some know him as Dr. Jonathan Crane. You all know him as Scarecrow, so give a warm Cobra welcome to the Scarecrow. Welcome to the show.
Greetings, Cobra Commander. It's a frightful pleasure to be here. Now that's an interesting story. I used to be the top professor of psychology at Gotham University, specializing in fears and phobias. Unfortunately, the Board of Education told me too late they frowned on using students as test subjects in my fear experiments. They called me insane and fired me. This and the memories of troubled youth got me to decide to turn fear against those arrogant masses and become the Scarecrow. Then, when I attempted revenge on the university, that meddling Batman interfered, threw me into Arkham, and the rest, they say, is history.
I don't see why they have a problem with you using people in your tests. After all, these are the same people who use rats in their experiments. And from what I can tell, most people are just as smart as rodents. How do your fear toxins work? Do they just make people see things that aren't already there? Or do they affect every human sense?
Ah, yes, my fear toxin. My pride and joy in my research. This lovely pharmaceutical brings all your worst fears to life in the form of hallucinations so real you'd be unable to distinguish them from reality. So the answer would be yes. They affect every human sense. Just ask Batman.
I would love to purchase your fear toxins. Using it on Duke and watching him flip out would be a great way to spend the afternoon. You're quite good at psychology. How would you assess my mental state? And be honest, it's usually a bad idea for me to shoot my own guests.
Well, for starters, I'd advise against shooting your guests. Save it for the disloyal henchmen and the Hollywood writers. And as for your assessment, patient shows severe megalomania due to a desire to rule the world right off the bat, and also symptoms of antisocial disorder due to killing henchmen and small puppies, which you constantly boot into the air without even the slightest hint of remorse. And you appear to have a small amount of obsessive-compulsive disorder due to a need to constantly do this every time you make a statement. All in all, I'd say you're appropriate material for what you do.
Puppies make for excellent footballs. They're so enjoyable to punt for the extra point. But you must be crazy. I don't wave my arms around like crazy when I'm making a point. I'll pretty much tell which villains are unstable, but which heroes do you consider to be unstable, and why do you think that?
Well, there are many, but let's go most obvious choice, Batman. An emotionally troubled man who exhibits severe delusions of his own sanity, believing himself to be the hand of justice and order, when in truth he's an emotionally troubled man who must fulfill a thirst for vengeance and satisfy obsessive tendencies of vigilantism, no doubt spawned from a traumatic childhood experience. His secret identity, no doubt, has become the costume, and his costumed identity his real one, due to the irresistible urge to don it every night. We wait for the day he'll be committed to Arkham, the place he truly belongs.
Yes, he's indeed a very screwed up person. I enjoyed your assessment of that. Now, you are known as the Master of Fear. Now I believe both my viewers, as well as myself, are rather interested in knowing what you're afraid of.
Only a fool knows no fear, Commander. And yes, I do have things that I fear. But nothing that you would know about.
The sounds of it, something I don't want to know about either. Now, if you excuse me a moment, I gotta go do something. Yes, my pants are dry. Now back to the interview. Now I know you're very well aware that I have a doctor on staff who goes by the name of Dr. Mindbender. How would you compare yourself to him? And would you consider yourself to be a better doctor than he?
Commander, I am a doctor who specializes in crushing the mind with fear, having broken the minds of many heroes, including the Batman, over and over again. Meanwhile, he is a doctor who has a handlebar mustache and carries a phallic rod wherever he goes. I dress in the rags of a scarecrow, a terrifying figure of fear. He wears tight purple pants and no shirt. I would say that by comparison I am the much better doctor, or at least the one who is more comfortable in himself.
Destro and I sure do enjoy making fun of him. He looks like a Village People reject. Now I'd love to fire him and hire you as his replacement. After it was all said and done, what would people remember about you after you're no longer an active villain?
I want the world to remember my mastery over fear and the terror that I subjected Gotham's greatest hero to time and again. But in all honesty, I don't intend to retire anytime soon, no matter what crisis comes along in DC continuity.
Your loss would be a great tragedy. You're one of the very few people I actually respect. And now for my last question. Do you think you can do a better job running Cobra than me? If so, how would you do it? And if not, why not?
Of course I do, Commander. Let me deconstruct this for you. Cobra is a terrorist organization, meaning it uses fear to bend countries or the world to their will. And who knows more about fear than myself, the master of fear? As for how I do things, I would handle things as I do in Gotham, but on a grand scale. First of all, I use a decoy plan. I would capture the G.I. Joes once they come to stop me and foil that plan. But instead of keeping them prisoner, I would make them all my test subjects when creating my latest and greatest fear toxin for my true plan. That way, they'll be too petrified by their own worst nightmares or dead through cardiac arrest when their heart cannot take any more terror to stop me. Then, once the toxin is complete, I would go about my real plan and release missiles filled with my fear toxin into all the major capitals of the world, and the panic-induced world leaders will be so terrified they'd cower to my demands in an instant.
Thank you, Scarecrow, for giving me the perfect plan to take over the world. I wish more guests were as helpful as you. Now, don't worry about it, even though I will be stealing your idea and claiming it as my own later. You can at least take some pride in the fact that you were the genius that came up with it. Thank you, Scarecrow. It was a pleasure having you on the show tonight.
It's been a pleasure, Commander. Thank you for having me on your show. Most interesting. My test subjects are a little unruly right now, so I'll see you with pleasant dreams.
And who will be my next guest? I don't know. Maybe it could be you.